Hey everybody, how you doing today? It is Tuesday, and if you remember my content schedule, it's a busy day when we start big. We start with my boy Matt from the East Coast. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing awesome, Mike. Super pumped to be here as always.
Hey man, I appreciate you. You watch my daily financial news, and you saw that
Do.
just last week I bought two and sold one, and you wanted to ask some questions. So I'm going to turn this episode number one over to you, and we'll find out where you want to go with this conversation.
Let's see if the teach can stand the heat.
I like it.
All right. So, Mike, you talked about the two couple deals. And for me, we're both real estate guys. And so I've talked about one of my deals. I want to know your favorite deal, whether it was the sell or the buy side, but I like to cover both. But talk to me a little bit about, that favorite one on the buy side. What made it look like the deal that you needed it to be in order to say, yeah, this is one I want to add to my portfolio and do the work?
Yeah. So the one I'm going to talk about is there's a zip code called 93726. So it's a decent area of town. And we
Okay.
actually made contact with the seller 7 or 8 months ago. Right. So it's probably like June or July of last year, right? Right in the
Okay.
thick of, we don't know what's going on with Gavin Newsom. We don't know what's going on with evictions and all of this. I had already at that time had, I think, 2 tenants already kind of play the game. And I'm like, you know what?
Sure.
I want this deal. I'll pay this much, but I need it vacant, right? I didn't want to take that extra risk because I didn't know where this was going at that time. Obviously,
100%.
it turned out okay. But I didn't know that going in, right? I was like, okay, I've got a set of chips. I could last for this long if nothing came in. I'm not going to be adding to that in the short term,
Sure.
right? So the seller agreed, understood. They had already started an eviction on their end. So they're like, okay, we think we can get this done in about 3 or 4 weeks. We'll come back to you. Lo and behold, lots of things went sideways with their eviction. First off, they tried to do it themselves, right?
Oh, that's a
Without an
horrible idea.
attorney. And, in a normal environment, maybe, right? If they had
Right.
experience, it maybe, but in an
Yep.
environment where the rules were changing all the time,
Correct.
the deck was stacked against them and it was essentially thrown out. And at this point, they don't have tenants, they have squatters, right?
That's right.
It'd been sublet and it was just bad to worse. So I still have the contract. It's still the price I want and receive vacant, right? We'll close 10 days after it's vacant. So long story short, goes on another 3 or 4 months because they try to refile and do it again. It just doesn't work. Now they've lost their mind, right? They're not collecting rent. They're having issues. Like this is like one of their, it's just not a good situation.
Sure.
So I reached out to them and I think it was about October. And I say, you know what? You're exhausted. I want the deal. And oh, by the way, the property's gone up in value, probably 15% over time, right? Because if anybody remembers March to October, pretty good time to own real estate, right? So I tell them, you know what? I want to help you out. You've already tried this twice. I want to get my attorney involved and I will pay for this eviction. But again, we are only closing when vacant.
Love it.
So lo and behold, I spend about $1,500 because it's a longer and drawn out process, but we finally get them out on, it was like January 28th or 29th, somewhere right at the end of January. I then send my team through, right? Because again, I have 10 days to close after they're out.
Sure.
And it's, squatters had been there for 8 months and it's still it's dirty. But it's not as wrecked as I've seen.
Sure.
Right. I'm like, oh, it looks like you could hold a yard sale in the backyard. I mean, there's stuff just everywhere.
But thank God copper prices are down.
Yeah, exactly. God. Yeah. So lo and behold, because I'd never even been in the house. When I signed the contract at my purchase price, I still hadn't been inside because I wasn't going to go inside and, deal with fucking squatters. You just never know, right? Never know.
That's right.
I mean, I've been in situations where like you're unsafe. I'm like, I'll deal with this when it's vacant. And lo and behold, we go through it. We do a video. It's actually on my channel. It's 3 minutes long. It's a great house. And there's, oh, by the way, I mean, we're even going to save the cabinets. I mean, I had no thought that we would save the cabinets to show you what I mean by it's we're still going to replace the countertop and appliances and all of that stuff. But the cabinets are like these solid, like they used to build them, like solid wood We're just going to add, we're going to paint them, sand them, paint them, put on some fancy door hanger or door knobs, probably new hinges. I mean, new bathrooms, all that. So lo and behold, we ended up closing on it. We're getting bids to trash out right now.
Awesome.
The numbers are going to be something like this, right? With the agreed price was 140. So we picked up 140,000 in cash. At the time I did the deal, I thought the ARV stretched would be 250. Like 240 would probably be more like it. I assumed, again, remember, I had never been inside. The remodel would be 40 grand. It will probably be more like 45. But now, given where the market is and when this one will come out, we'll probably go out at 299, 289,
Love it.
299. So
now you're going to flip this.
Oh yeah, this will be a flip. Yeah, it's in
Okay.
a nicer part of town. But yeah, we it might be $100,000 profit.
Awesome.
For doing it the right way. Certainly 80. It could be 100. Yeah.
So let's talk about one of the really cool things that you did, which is the right thing to do is not always the best thing to do. The right thing to do is let the seller continue to try to evict on their dime, on their time frame, and trying to get that thing wrapped up. The best thing for the deal and for guys like us is to say, you know what, we probably have resources that are more skilled at this, have done this a lot more often, that we're very comfortable and they really understand the changes, and especially in today's laws, is you completely took ownership of the situation, whether or not it was necessarily directly your issue or not. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people will say, you know what, that's your responsibility. You just need to handle it.
Yeah, well, I did that for an obvious reason. I had seen this property go up 50 grand.
That's right.
While I held the contract, and the contract's getting old, right? It's still valid. It's just getting old, and the sellers were getting burned out. I could imagine them just throwing their hands up, saying, "We're done. Let the city take care of it whenever they foreclose on taxes." I mean, I was worried about losing this. Right? It was a good deal when we signed it in March. It was a really good deal in January.
Yep.
So I'm like, I'll spend. I would have spent $5 grand. I mean, I offered the tenants $5 grand cash for keys just to shorten the cycle. They didn't want it. So I'm like, okay, well, good news. I got an attorney and I know how to do this. So you're not going to beat me.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't want to lose it. I mean, it was a good deal that turned great.
That's awesome.
It's going to be and it'll be an owner occupied. I mean, it's in that kind of town or part of the town. And I mean, there's a chance it goes for over 300, but I'm trying to be conservative. And we'll see what happens. So that's a fun one.
So guys, more than ever, what you should take away from this story is deals are still out there. You can still make those deals. B, you will find other people that have tried this, landlord thing and realize that it's not for them. And this last year has been more trying than any other year on record ever, because at least back in 07, 08, and 9, you could still evict people. Yeah. And it was evict for non-payment was, 95% of the evictions that were taking place. Agreed. Now, with that being off the table, you have to follow a lot of other rules and laws and statutes and things like that in your local municipalities and states that will force you down a different path that then costs more money, takes more time, etc. But again, it's being able to pivot. It's being malleable. It's making sure that you're looking at the deal and understanding, here's my opportunity to speed this deal up and be what I call a deal maker. Close the deal. Deals are like milk. They are not like fine wine. They do not get better with age.
Well said. Yeah,
so close, ABC, always be closing and moving towards that closing. Now, you didn't have to start off there, but after 2 failed tries, 3 probably wasn't going to go very well for him either. And so let's just get this thing locked down and done in. And here's the thing, that $1,500 that you spent is a complete non-factor.
Oh, yeah.
In a deal like this, it's, even if it were $5,000, quite frankly, it's largely not a factor. And I'm not being dismissive of $5K. I'm saying, look at it in the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah. And again, why did I do that? It's because the deal was getting old. I wanted the seller to know that I wanted the deal and I wanted to hold my end of the bargain, which was buy it at 140. I didn't want them to run away. I mean, the seller probably knows the real estate market is hot. I mean, it's pretty hard to avoid, right?
Sure.
So the last thing I wanted to do was lose, and I mean, I didn't want to lose an extra 30 grand by not taking ownership of the problem, because once I took ownership, it's like a new contract, right? It's okay. Well, now we're going to start again, and it's going to take what it's going to take, but it's going to get done. So I did that on purpose,
Yep.
to save the deal.
So taking it away, so the one takeaway from this deal is be creative, don't get stuck in a box, because the goal is always the same, which is to get the deal done.
Mm-hmm.
If you made a right offer on the right property, you just have to get it closed. And that's the moral of this proverb, right? We got to make sure that people are finding the right deals. And when you find the right deal, that you're executing, and then it's not, well, we'll just wait for it to close. A lot of deals like this, you have to kind of throw them over your shoulder and carry in the last 5 yards to get across the finish line. And there's nothing wrong with that. Take that ownership, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to get the payout.
Yeah, I would tell you in today's environment, and probably for much, at least of the first half, the deals, with nice margin like this one clearly has, they're going to have hair on it.
Yeah.
And, if you're looking for just a cookie cutter, paint, carpet, that's it. That's not this market. You're going to be paid to be a problem solver. And there's a lot of money in being a good problem solver.
Yeah. Perfect example. I actually had one that I sent to a friend of mine in Florida, and I said, here's one. It's about $75,000 or $80,000 under price based on what I can tell about that market. And again, I didn't do a ton of time in the market. I spent maybe 2 or 3 hours kind of looking through the market. And I said, it's about 75, 80 grand underpriced. And he goes, yeah, but there's tenants there, and I just don't want to have to deal with that. And I go, yeah, that's a problem. The nice, pretty, sweet, sexy deals, you don't have cash for.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
You need to get in there, and they're telling you they want to close in 5 days, and then you own the tenant issue. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a 3-bedroom just outside of Tampa in a nice neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's a good deal, And so to your point, you're going to have to take some deals with hair on them. That's going to be a little bit longer of a time frame, especially if you're more of a newbie. It's going to take you a little bit more time to get through it. But I'm telling you, for that right opportunity, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Just have done your homework so you know exactly what that upside is on the other side, and make sure that there's some upside in it for you if you're going to have to handle and shave a little bit of hair off the deal.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'll say about this, while I wasn't willing to take on, tenant issues back in March, April, I thought that was the right decision given the environment.
I agree.
Today, I will take them on because I see the end, right? There's light at the end of the tunnel. I processed, I think, 4 evictions in the last 6 weeks. So they are getting done. It's not for non-payment. It's for breaking rules or destroying or whatever, right? So you can, which you probably couldn't have done in March or April. And this will eventually be over, right? And there will be some people like this individual who are holding on that just don't want to anymore. And as long as I'm willing to make the trade-off, I will do those deals today. I would not have done that deal in March of last year. The unknown risk was too big.
Well, these are the types of deals that we were finding right in 08 and 09, but we were getting them after they were foreclosed on, or maybe we could get in there and have a short sale.
Yep.
Guys, every single time the market shifts, it doesn't look exactly the same. This is going to be this version. This is going to be this go-arounds version of what evictions and foreclosures are going to look like. That's my belief. Is trying to get people out of these kind of distressed assets, meeting them where they're at, getting them out of the mess, and then taking on and, hunkering down and getting through that messy process.
Well, it's actually funny you bring that up. I think there's going to be 2 ways to secure or control property in this environment. That's the first one. And that one, that's most likely, that's most similar to foreclosures and short sales last time. I do believe this environment eventually, once we stop kicking the can down the road with foreclosure crises or moratoriums, we're going to be able to do some seller financing or subject to, or we're going to be able to control properties that have decent mortgages. But again, it's all about control. So I do think being creative in this environment for the next 18 months that's how you win, is you be creative. So I love this conversation. Thank you.
Awesome. Mike, congratulations on the deals, and looking forward to our next subject.
You got it, buddy.